Hi, and welcome back to the HSP podcast with me, Philippa Robinson.
And me, Robbie Lee. This is where we share our stories, insights, and strategies to help fellow highly sensitive people navigate their own path to living a fulfilling and meaningful life.
We're on a mission to reclaim the word sensitive and help the world see the strength in sensitivity. So, Robbie, who are we talking to today?
Well, I'm very excited about this guest. She's the owner of a creative center in Bergen. She's the author of the book High Sensitivity, a handbook. She's a high sensory coach, a painter, an opera singer. She's been regularly featured as an HSP expert in Norwegian news and magazine articles. She's all this and so much more, plus a really good friend of ours and a return guest to our podcast. And we're thrilled to welcome back today, Trude Sletteland. Trude, so happy to have you back.
So much. Yes, so lovely to be back. Great to see you. And I'm really looking forward to this wonderful chat that we're going to have.
Yay. And today, the topic we talked about was wisdom. And no, it's not. There's a blooper for Jay. The topic we discussed chatting about today was courage. And when I say that word, I'm wondering what comes up for you around that?
Courage. It's a very, very big word. To me, courage it's both, enormous and tiny. It's because if it's enormous, you can't do it. I'd just like to go back in time for when I realized that I was actually quite courageous. Because I lived in England when I was 12, came back to Norway, and I was really, really adamant I had to go back. I think I left behind my heart, so it was immensely important for me to go back to England. And I did so as fast as I could after upper secondary school, So I got a job as an au pair, and it was, it was awful. It was really, really hard. It was fantastic. And I got to learn to know so many people, and I had to, really understand what it meant to travel on my own, to be on my own, to sort out stuff, fix mistakes and so on. It was, I was 20, 19, 20, and it really was hard, but I just had to do it for my own sake. And I really felt so small, tiny, didn't feel courageous at all. And when I got back home, I got a lift from one of the big guys in the street, and he told me that they really, really looked up to me, who was so courageous as to leave the country on your own and move to another country. And it's like, yeah, you're right. Because the only reason I knew I was really, really courageous because I'd been so afraid, and I'd done it anyway. And so at the age of 20, I knew that that's what courage is. It's doing something you don't dare to do. And I just really felt, fantastic about it. Really proud. And so since then, to me, courage is really doing what you don't dare to do, which means, fear it's not even frightening because you just have to be courageous, and that's great.
Wow.
There's an answer for you.
That's a brilliant answer.
It really is. Can I just pick up on something that you said? Because you said that you felt when you left England and went to Norway that you left a bit of your heart and you had to get back.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that because you were sort of chasing or finding or going back or looking for that part of your heart that you'd left behind, that helped you be courageous?
I think so, because it was a need. I didn't just
Mhm.
want to, I had to.
Yeah.
And I think I also had to because I maybe it had something to do with needing to feel courageous. Because I think living abroad in a culture you don't really understand fully takes a bit of courage. And then you notice it, you notice you're growing.
Mm.
And I think I've done that. I mean, I've always hated school in Norway, and I went to school when I was like 5 in Newcastle in England, and then 11 in Sandwich, Kent, England, and I really felt I learned something there. Whereas in school in Norway, I just had to learn to read and write again, and that's not learning. That's just a waste of time. So I really didn't like school in Norway, but in England it was hard work. And so I really felt I learned something. And I think that is maybe part of that, the same feeling. It's, it takes effort and you feel that you're going somewhere.
Mm.
And it takes courage. Yeah. So it makes you feel stronger.
Yeah. Yeah. And in a way, if it wasn't hard, it perhaps wouldn't feel courageous.
Absolutely. That's the whole point.
So in order to be courageous or feel, I mean, the most important thing is you, and from what you're describing, is that you felt courageous, and that is what really, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, you felt courageous, and that is what really gave you something in that experience.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And ever since, when I see people struggling to do something, if they actually manage to do that, I show them that that was a really courageous thing to do. And then, they feel that they've actually achieved something, which is amazing. Because achieving something, sorry.
No, please.
Well, achieving something that you don't really dare to do, or you don't think you're able to do, it means you've grown. You've climbed the ladder. You've gotten somewhere, which is fantastic.
Yes.
Mhm.
What I'm hearing when you're talking about that is courage to follow your heart. Like that seems
Yeah.
like a big theme. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
also, like, in the moment, it's not like you were going, well, I'm full of courage. That's what I'm doing. In the moment, it's like you're full of whatever the feelings are, right? I'm scared. Like, this feels big. And it's afterward where we can look back, and sounds like you help others to do that too, to look back and go, look at that courageous thing you did.
Yes,
And I think
because
it's,
then you want to do it again.
say that again.
Then you want to do it again. You want to
Yeah.
experience it all over again, because then you can realize that it's courageous.
Yes.
So you won't stop at the once.
I just feel like it's so helpful. Like, I'm thinking of those listening, right? It's like, to understand you can be in the middle of doing a courageous thing and not have the feeling of, I'm so courageous right now, right? You'll most probably be feeling some version of, wow, this is hard, or this is stretching me, or I'm scared.
Yeah.
And those are almost the indications that you're doing the courageous thing, right?
Yes, absolutely. Because I think we tend to think that something is courageous if you don't dare to do it yourself. I mean, if somebody dares to climb a mountain, fall off a cliff or something, that sounds really courageous. But but it's not necessarily if it does, it's not frightening to them. I mean, if it's just an everyday thing, it's not courageous. It's only courageous if you don't dare to do it.
Mm. Yeah.
And that looks very different for everybody. I mean, for some,
Yes.
For some people in their darkest days, that can just be getting out of bed. That can
Yes.
be leaving the house. It can be climbing the highest mountain. It can be, jumping out of an aeroplane. It can be having a really difficult conversation with somebody. It can
Absolutely.
be all manner of things for all of us at different times.
Yes. Yeah, it's an individual thing. Yeah, and it's got everything to do with fear. It's completely linked to fear, which means that fear is a wonderful thing because it makes you feel courageous afterwards.
Yes.
Afterwards, the key, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Not necessarily, but I mean, you might need help to see that.
Yeah.
Because because we tend to think that courage is something else. But if you see it, if you just feel it. I mean, that was difficult. I actually outdid myself. Then that's enough, then be proud.
Yeah, can I share something with you? So I think, I'm sure you both know, I go cold water swimming, and I'm currently on my second winter of doing it, and it's it gets pretty cold, and I go 3 times a week, and I've realized that, so after we did last winter, so 2022 into 2023, is that right? Yeah, 2022 into 2023, when we done, so I go with a friend of mine, and when we'd done that winter, I could look back, so I didn't realize what was going on at the time, but I could look back, and I thought, every time, and because it's happening now, but I'm more aware of what's happening this time, but every time we got there, I was like, oh God, I don't want to go in there. It's going to be so cold. Why am I taking all my clothes, like nearly all my clothes off, apart from my costume, and getting in this freezing cold water? Why am I doing this? But we kept going back and we kept doing it. And then as it started warming up, like in the late spring, I was like, wow, that was doing that every time we went, and not wanting to, but doing it and feeling amazing afterwards. I mean, that's why we carried on. The buzz afterwards is incredible. But I would say that for me, that was courageous, because I really didn't want to do it. And I was there was fear there about how long can I stay in without starting to feel ill, and how cold I was going to be afterwards, and let alone what's actually in the water. But, let's not worry about that. And I realized afterwards that doing that, and doing that hard thing every time I did it, and having the courage to do that, has made me more courageous in the rest of my life, because I know I can do hard things that I think I can't.
Absolutely.
And I wouldn't say that there was fear. There is a little bit of fear there. So I agree with you about fear. Fear is definitely linked to courage, but I also think it can be about doing things that are hard, but it's definitely about things that you don't dare to do. Things that you think you can't do, that you feel you can't. But when you do it, it's like, oh, I could do these. I could do this.
And then that's having a ripple effect.
Yeah, it does start having a ripple effect. Yes, of course you can. Please do say something.
Because I've done that once now, just after Christmas, the first time in my life.
Have you?
I combined it with a sauna though, but I did it with my sister. I gave her a Christmas present a year ago, more than a year ago. But so I gave her a Christmas present, which was this sauna, actually just the sauna thing, together with me, simply because I needed someone to go with. She's done it before, but several times probably. She lives in Oslo, but so we did that together. Did the sauna bit, and we went in lots of times. It was, once you got in, it was piece of cake. I knew I really thought I'd like it, but I didn't dare do it on my own.
And this is the cold this is the cold you're talking about, not the sauna. The cold, yes.
Oh, sauna. Yeah. Sauna is not difficult at all. Yes. I wouldn't have been courageous one little bit.
Yeah, but the cold.
Freezing cold water out in the sea. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that a going back and forth? You go into the cold and then into the sauna? Is that how that?
Yeah.
Wow.
So eventually I'm going to dare to do it without the sauna, but eventually.
Little boots and little gloves help your extremities, I've found. But yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you. Good advice.
Yeah, and that's wonderful. So that is doing things that we feel that we can't.
Yes. And I think that's the main thing, knowing that you can do things that you think you can't. Whatever that is. If something seems difficult, if you want to do it somewhere, then you can. Of course, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. It's sometimes it's stupid to do things that you're afraid to do, but but if you want to do it, it's meant to be done, then be courageous.
Just had a wave of emotion that went through my body when you said that. If there's something you want to do, do it. Even if it seems hard, even if you're scared.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of comfort in that, especially if you're afraid, because that is what makes you courageous.
And I think these things help us grow too, right? Because Philippa, like hearing both of you talk about it, it was these events that were challenging, Trude, it's like this script for you to follow your heart, and Philippa, like you said, what you've overcome going into this bitterly cold water over and over and over again, it's helped grow your courage everywhere else in your life, because you're like, if I can do this, which seems so hard, it's like, all this other stuff is easy compared to that. Or how does that occur in your mind? Maybe not easy, but how does that occur?
Yeah, well, it is interesting, isn't it? And it is fighting those like it's evidence in my body that I can do these things, that the little voices in my head will be telling me I can't.
Beautiful.
So it's more evidence to keep those voices quiet. And I remember the first time, since we're in storytelling mode today, it seems, I remember the very first time I felt like that. And I was 39, so that was a long time to wait. I was 39 and I had just given birth to my second son at home. I'd wanted a home birth with my first one. That didn't happen, but I had the second one at home. It was amazing. It was like worlds apart from the awful one I had with the first one. And I didn't have any, right. So this is not like, this is just what happened to make me feel like this. I'm not saying this is like how everyone should give birth, but I had him at home. I didn't have any pain relief. And he just arrived and he was perfect and everything was amazing. And I remember thinking afterwards, the first thought that came into my head was, if I can do that, I can do anything. Oh, making me feel really emotional just saying it.
Yes.
And I mean, I think I forgot that for a while. I forgot that feeling of power from within me for a while. But the cold water swimming has made me remember.
Yeah.
And both of your examples, Philippa, are body related.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Recognizing. Yeah. So it's like I like how you said evidence in your body that you can do it.
Yeah. But this is not fear, it's pain, right? Well, maybe that's the same thing. Yeah, we've got fear of pain.
Yeah. I mean, I remember with my first one going, I can't do this. I can't do this. And I was absolutely terrified, but I did. So I suppose maybe I had the evidence with the first one that I can do it. I don't know. But there is, it was just a physical feat. To do that in a way. So maybe for me, like Robbie said, maybe it's about being in my body and giving evidence to my body of what it is capable of, because I am very prone. Oh, now you see, this is one of those moments where I process in the middle of a podcast episode.
Yeah.
But I have spent a lot of time berating my body for not doing what I want it to do, what I see everybody else's bodies doing, what I feel in a way my body has let me down. I mean, I've let my body down in a way, but so to have these experiences of how actually, no, my body is quite capable of these things that I've described. Might not be capable of doing other things, but it can do some things. I think that has been really powerful for me.
You can do amazing stuff.
Yeah. But those examples have really given me courage to do other things.
Yeah. This is actually quite funny. Are we talking childbirth now?
Well, let's see. Let's
Sure.
not get too technical or gory, but yeah.
Not too technical, but I can tell you, I've given birth twice as well. So my firstborn took 9 minutes.
Wow.
No time for anything, no pain relief for anything. So it just, it just happened. It was really fast in hospital, just about.
Wow.
So the second time, of course, the only thing I dared to do was the same as last time. No pain relief. So courage then, it wasn't particularly courageous to do it the same way as last time. I was more afraid of doing something that I hadn't tried before. So pain relief would have been terrifying to me.
Right. Interesting. So there's something there about the repetition as well, isn't there? And
now you know what's going on.
Yeah.
You don't really.
So the unknown. So we're okay repeating things, but the unknown, and then fear comes into the unknown.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why courage, if you're courageous enough to do something, then, the next time around, it's not so frightening. So you need less courage in the repetitions. Things.
Yeah. And like Brené Brown talks about the shitty first draft or something. You, or it reminds me that you have to go through the first one. There's no way of avoiding it. You have to go. I mean, okay, I could never have plunged in cold water at all. But if I wanted to do that, I had to do the first one. And then, you keep going and they get, so anything that you do for the first time, it's often going to take courage, isn't it?
Yes. So it's not frightening. It's just the first time.
Yeah.
You haven't done it before. That's why you need courage.
Yeah. And people talk about like being nervous and being excited being the same energy. So if you, which I'm not saying whether I think maybe there is a difference, but I could tell from your face you thought so. But just because it feels you're having a strong feeling about it and you're having to galvanize your courage does not mean it's wrong. Does not mean don't do it. In fact, it means the opposite, doesn't it? Do it.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. What is all this bringing up for you, Robbie?
I was thinking about, there have been times, well, one of the times that pop into my head is moving across country to Washington State, where I am now with my wife. Neither one of us had a job lined up, and we didn't have like a place to live. I mean, we ended up renting a room. We packed up our whole house into a little storage, like a little trailer on the back of our truck, and moved across the country because there was something pulling us. It was like, it reminded me a little bit, Trude, of what you were talking about, like following your heart, and like you left part of your heart there. And for me, there was something about going to this part of the country. It's just, like, I knew I needed to be there. And my wife, Brady, felt the same way. And even though we didn't have it all lined up of that, this is how it was going to work, it was like, I've got to go. Like, I know I have to go. And that part wasn't scary. It wasn't that's what I was reflecting on. I'm like, sometimes for me, I'll do the jump, like I'll jump off the cliff because it's like, I have to do this. And then I'll go. And then partway through the jump, or maybe even after I land, then it's kind of like, holy crap, now what? Because then we got here and it's like, okay, well, now we've got to figure stuff out and we got to go. But now we're here. So now we're in the middle of it. Like, right? You've jumped off the cliff. So now you got to figure it out. Yeah. But then there are other times when I feel like I get stuck, like I'm wanting to do a thing and I get stuck. And I'm wondering if, I mean, what's occurring to me, I'm processing right now too, Philippa, you're not alone. I'm wondering, like, if it's all the brain chatter there, right? So it's like, if I can act when I have that conviction and just do it, I have lots of evidence of those things working out. Like, not only working out, but being really life-changing in amazing ways. I have lots of evidence to that. And then there are other things where it's like, I thought about things, but then that's the key. I sat and thought about it instead of acting. And that can really slow it down to the point of where, well, it just didn't happen then. So that's kind of what I was thinking through. It's like, how do I shorten that distance between, oh, here's the thing I want to do, and just doing it? Because that seems to be a good formula for me. Think of the thing and do it,
It sounds a bit like, one's the head and one's the heart, or the body or
100%.
soul or something. Yeah.
100%.
So if you use your head too much, it can really make you worried and stop you from doing things.
Yeah, I mean, that's the job of it, right? It's this like danger, 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 danger. So it'll throw everything out there. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it's learning to tap into that. I suppose it's learning to actually understand and appreciate the wisdom that is in our body, that our minds can't and don't need to figure out. We've got that wisdom already.
That's right.
We have that wisdom in our body. Our bodies know, but we do, because that is the way society tells us. The mind is is everything.
King.
And in fact, the mind just, I don't know, the mind just screws things up sometimes.
Yeah, it does. I don't know why this word wisdom keeps coming up these days, but I've heard it several times lately that people are talking about wisdom and being wise and how important that is. And to me, it's like, why have they started talking about it now? Because when I was very, very young, I had one ambition, that was to become wise. And I just thought somebody had lost that on the way, because everybody's talking about intelligence, and that seems so sort of like cheap in comparison. And yeah.
Yeah. Wisdom is not the same as being intellectual, intelligent, all those other words, is it? Wisdom, well, for me, is definitely something very different. And it's like an inner knowing, that wisdom, isn't it?
Yes. And it's much wiser.
Yeah.
It makes
Yes.
It's like it's telling more of the truth.
Yes.
Because your intelligence can lie to you easily.
Yes. Well, and I think our intelligence, our brains aren't connected to all the inputs, the wise inputs that we have. Like, Philippa, you're talking about your body and connecting to something bigger than ourselves. Like, those forms of wisdom, those knowings are more powerful. Like, and our brain doesn't access that. It's living in its own little world,
Yeah. Well, so we just have to teach them to work together. Then, with intelligence are perfect together. But just intelligence is just, just the mind can easily lie to you, tell you things that aren't really true, and make you afraid of things that aren't really dangerous, and so on.
Yes.
And so, yeah.
Can I change the conversation just a little bit? Still talking about courage, but can I just make a little segue? Because I heard you, Trude, talking on another podcast about courage, which is why I wanted I wanted you to come here today and talk about courage. And I love the conversation we've had, and I think there's so much richness there. And in this other podcast that you were talking about, I can't quite remember what the topic was, but it was you were talking about self-love and love generally. And, you embody love. If anybody says anything about love, like, you're kind of the first person who sort of comes to my mind, because you walk this planet like exuding love and have love for so many people. And, you're very open with it, and see good in people as much as you possibly can. And is that all fair to say before we go any further?
Wow, it's like, wow, did you really say that? That sounds fantastic. I'm really touched. That's more than I would have dared to thought. Even.
But does all that ring true? Would you say that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, it does actually. Yeah.
And you are really open and you talk about, well, it's just all love, isn't it? I mean, everything boils down to love. And I love the way that you talk about that. And in this podcast, you were saying that is how you exist. You exist with love being your, I don't know, your center point, your way of being. And that takes courage to be in the world like that. And I was so taken by what you said. And I just, could you just, I don't know, expand on that a little bit more for us? Because I totally agree with you. It does take courage for all the reasons that we've talked about so far today. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just have to feel into that, because I mean, it rings a bell. I can't remember saying it, but I'm sure it's true. I'm sure I've said it, because of course, love is really important. It is the safe spot in the world. I mean, it's the only safe thing to me. If everything is love, then everything is safe. So everything that sort of hurts that in any way is unsafe. So love is really the purest, most just the safest place to be. And so wearing that is beautiful. I mean, there's so many fantastic people and animals and plants and God, what, the whole world is so worthy of love. So it is really, it's just peaceful and wonderful to feel that way most of the time. But I mean, I've only relatively recently started talking about it loud, because people don't say that. I mean, we don't talk about love in that way in the world. And so if you do, you really risk something. And even being that way, you risk people laughing at you, or you risk people saying that can't be true, and if it's really the most important thing in the world to you, then you are risking something really important. So it does take a lot of courage to carry the weight of love around the world, but it's definitely worth it.
Yes. It takes a lot of courage to carry the weight of love around the world. Is that that's what you just said, wasn't it? Carry the weight of love. Yeah. And that, just being open, just talking about it and being open as well. Like you just always strike me as being very open-hearted, and you're willing to accept people as you find them, and they will, hopefully they will accept you as they find you, because you are you. You are not going to change for anybody, are you? You are Trude out and out, and you are doing your thing, your special thing in the world, which is full of love. So,
but I mean,
yeah, go on.
But if everybody did that, this world would be fantastic, right? So the more people who are in that love, the better it is. So there's no way there's a massive reason for just trying your best to be that way, or live that way, or be who you are with everybody else, because it's the only solution, basically. I can't see the world in any other way. So just seeing the beautiful you, that is love too, isn't it? I mean, you're so fantastic, and I'm so grateful to be with you, and just to be allowed to accept that, and notice it, know it is it's a part of it. Yeah, it's a really important part of it. So that's why I'm so happy to be with you.
Yeah, it's just wonderful, isn't it, Robbie?
Yes. Yeah. And Trude, another thing that strikes me as you're talking, and Philippa, you alluded to it a little bit, is also Trude, in the realm of love. I agree with everything Philippa said. Like, you exude that toward others. You also, when I think about you and love, I think about how much love you give toward yourself, so that you can it's like you allow yourself, I don't even know if that's the right word, But like Philippa said, you are you. Like you, and to me, that is the biggest act of self-love and courage, that you won't let anyone dim your shine. You won't let anyone put you in a box. You won't let anyone silence you. You come from your heart into the world, and you give the gift of Trude into the world.
Thanks for saying that. Yeah, I mean, because I think it's true. I think you're right. Because I think to me, it's really, I mean, not being myself would be really painful.
Yes.
I become so frustrated when people suggest that I do things in a different way.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it actually makes me burnt out. I can't really live a full life not being myself, because I feel that that's the space that is needed. I don't think it really has anything to do with me as a person. It's us as people, as humanity. We need that.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I can't try to do something that other people will tell me to do if that's not in accordance with that.
I love that.
Yes. Yes. And I think a lot of people listening or watching this have maybe had the experience of the opposite of that, where they felt like they had to make themselves smaller, or, or dim their shine a little bit in order to stay safe.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, I've coached a lot of people, and so I know, and it really, that's why I want to be a coach, because I want to help people out of that box, because it's not good for them. It's not good for us. It's not good for anybody. Right. We don't want those boxes.
No. It's something Philippa and I talk about a lot. It's helping people to really be who they are.
Yeah.
Out of the box.
Yeah.
Did you say out of the box, Philippa?
I did say out of the box.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always have that image of like a little, I don't know whether you guys had those Jack in the boxes. So, a metal tin that you squash the clown down under the lid, and you wind it up, and then it goes pop and pops out. That's what I always think of. It's like, I want everyone to come and pop out of that box and go, here I am. And not be squashed back into that box.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that takes courage for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
It does.
Yeah.
And why is that? It's because we've been sort of like programmed or taught not to be ourselves.
Yes.
I mean, somehow I don't think I've been told enough. So
don't think you got that memo, did you?
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, but a lot of us are, told that you have to do this, you have to sit straight, you have to do things in a certain way, and otherwise you're not going to become what we want you to become. Yeah. But I think, that wasn't wise to me. So I knew what wisdom was as a child. And when people talk just from, their heads, saying that you need to do this, because I feel that you can't do that, because you're going to miss out on something really important. Can't go that way. I
bet when you were a child, the adults loved you, didn't they? I bet you. Oh God, don't tell Trude she's got to do something. She won't do it. I love that. I can just imagine, I don't know, younger Trude, and
Me too.
I love that. I really do. And talking to you really reminds me of my experience, because my experience was very different from you. I shut down and froze really quite young. And it's only been in the last, I don't know, 6-7 years now, it's getting on, that I've jumped out of my box and started to be much more open-hearted and understand about love, and, as Robbie says, loving me before even, I can start loving other people. And, to anybody listening or watching, I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. It's much better than the other way. But also want to acknowledge that does take some courage.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. And that's the fantastic thing about it, isn't it? So it's so worth it.
It is so worth it. And with examples, sorry, I'm making you into sort of a specimen there, but with you around talking about like the ease of it really and the simplicity of it, you know, bringing it down to its bare elements or whatever whatever words I want to use, but in its most simple form, it is something that we could all do, we can all do, but it might take courage to do that. You know, as babies, we were born surrounded by love, feeling love, all, you know, we were full of love as babies.
Yeah.
But things then happen, you know, and we don't we change, and you know, thank goodness anything that happened to you, Trude, did not freeze that bit of you or did not squash that bit of you. And you know, and you are here to lead this really important conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm really pleased.
Yes.
Yes, I'm saying.
Feels good, I must say.
Good. Are you basking in your, I don't know, basking in the love that's going on here?
No, but I mean, it really is true. But when I meet people who feel that they can't do things, they wouldn't dare go out of their skin to do, you know, to be themselves in the world. Even if we find baby steps that are courageous, these baby steps are still courage, you know. And then when they try to do something that's really frightening, even though to everybody else is tiny, it's still very courageous. And if you can see that, then you really grow, and then you can climb a bit higher, you know. And when I see that, that's when I see, you know, people being empowered and proud, and you know, yeah, proud is a good word, I think. Proud of themselves and take their space in the world. Fantastic. I love that. I really, really love that.
Same. Yeah, that's what lights my fire, is seeing other people take their place in the world. It's a great way to say it. Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
And thank you for the reminder that, you know, it doesn't have to be like massive, big sort of steps. In fact, you know, lasting change comes from those baby steps over time. And, you know, the repetition each time makes the next baby step maybe not quite so, it doesn't need quite so much courage, but that's how we do move forward or side, or wherever we want to go, in the direction we want to go, steadily.
Yeah. But sometimes those baby steps don't feel like baby steps. They feel like mountains. But,
yeah.
But yeah. And that's when you have to know that because it's difficult for you, because it feels like a mountain, that's how much courage it takes. And that's how much you've won when you've done it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's a great way to frame it.
It is. I remember when I was in therapy, my therapist said to me that, you know, when you want to, because I have, you know, abandonment wounds and everything, and I always want to run away. And she said to me, when you don't want to do this work anymore, that is when I'm going to invite you to come in even deeper, because that's when you're on the edge of something really important. And I say that a similar thing to my clients now, that when it starts to feel like you can't do it, that's when you just need to hold on, because you're on the brink of something new and different, and growth and love, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's quite a good place to stop, unless Trude, was there anything else you wanted to say before we before we go?
Don't start me off on another topic.
No, well, I've already got our next topic. You've mentioned it today, and I've already had it on my list. So I'm already thinking about our next topic. So in the realms of this conversation, do you have anything that is on your heart that you would like to say before we go?
No, I think I said most of them that I can think of now.
Okay.
Wonderful. Lovely topic.
Yeah. And Robbie, you?
I'm just grateful for this really rich conversation. I think what's super sticking with me is that these things that feel hard, these things that feel scary, but that we're drawn to do, right? Like our heart is pulling us to do. These are the things that create really big growth for us. These are the things that matter. Like they matter.
Yeah.
And help us to continue to take our place in the world, right? Being more and more of who we are. And yeah, I've loved this conversation. It's been beautiful. Thank you so much.
I love that. Really good place to end, to be more and more of who we are.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Okay. What a wonderful conversation. Thank you, Trude. You are amazing. And so for now, it's bye from me.
And bye from me.
Oh, bye from me.
Thanks for listening to HSP Connection. If you've enjoyed listening, we'd love you to hit the follow or subscribe button, as this helps other people find us. And it also means you won't miss an episode.
Also, we'd really appreciate it if you could rate the podcast and share it with anyone you think might be interested. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, you can also leave us a review.
To get in touch with us, you can email us at hspconnectionpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you with your thoughts and comments on the episodes, as well as suggestions for future topics and guests.
We are both HSP coaches and speakers. And to find out more about Robbie, go to RobbieLeigh, LEIGH.com.
And to find out more about Philippa, go to boldhsp.com. See you next time.